If you receive the IRS Letter 11, you have less than 30 days before the IRS starts draining money out of your bank accounts or garnishing your wages. This isn't a threat by the IRS. This is a promise by the IRS, and they're deadly serious. But there's still time to protect yourself, and I'm going to share with you exactly what you need to do. Hi, my name is Carlos Samaniego from Tax Debt Consultants. I'm the founder of co-founder of Tax Debt Consultants, also the author of How to Make the IRS an Offer They Can't Refuse, also the other Amazon bestseller, Never Give Up. I've been on Fox, TV, radio, television, ABC News, Hollywood Live, where we've discussed IRS issues. What is the IRS Letter 11? I guess that's the most important thing. I would be imagining that if you're watching this video right now, you probably got that IRS Letter 11. Or maybe you're getting other IRS notices and you want to make sure it's not this IRS Letter 11. So let's start that. What is the IRS Letter 11? IRS Letter 11 and why it's so critical for you to know what it is. I'm going to emphasize one thing about this IRS Letter 11. Let's back up here. This is probably the most critical notice you're ever going to get from the IRS. Why? Because it's giving you a hard deadline of 30 days to act before they start levying the bank account or issuing wage garnishments to your employer. That's why this Letter 11, you have to recognize when you get this Letter 11. So let's take a look. This is directly from the IRS website. I'm going to point out some features here that are really important. On the top right corner of this letter, if you notice right up there on the top right corner, says Notice LT11. That is Letter 11. That's what it stands for, LT11. The other critical thing you need to do on your IRS notices is look at that date, the notice date, March 2nd, 2020. Make sure you want to notate that date. Obviously, if it's going to have your social security number on this. But the next thing I want you to go down, you'll notice the title of the notice. The notice is Notice of Intent to Levy and Notice of Right to Hearings. And then it continues on with intent to seize your property or rights to property for the amount due. And it's going to have the amount the IRS is claiming that you owe. So whatever that balance is going to be listed there. And just below that bold section of amount due immediately, if you scroll slightly down, you're also going to see another date there. That the IRS may seize or levy your property on or after April 1st of 2020. So you'll notice again, this is a sample letter. So your date's probably going to be a 2024 date. In fact, most of the people that have recently gotten these letters the last couple of weeks has been a couple of weeks. It was around August 12th. So it's going to say there August 12th, 2024. And then there on the bottom, you're going to see on the bottom there, the IRS may seize your property. It literally will have a September, I believe it's a September 13th, 14th date, 2024. So that's what the letter looks like. So if you're getting letters right now, grab those letters. After we finish watching this video, grab the letters, go to the top right corner of those letters and look for what letter is it? Is it Letter 11 or is it CP 504? Let's talk a little bit about CP 504. Let's just say you go to the top right corner and it does not say Letter 11. It says CP 504. Here's what that letter is. That letter is letting you know that Letter 11 is coming next. That's the next letter you're going to actually get from the IRS, Letter 11. So just because you got the CP 504 doesn't mean it's not urgent. It just means IRS is giving you the heads up that the next letter they can and will send eventually is that Letter 11. Now, normally the typical time frame is 30 days that they're supposed to do that, but the IRS's dates they're not following their exact dates exactly as of now that I know of. So what happens if you do not respond to the letter? Here's what happens if you don't respond to the letter. That's the important thing to understand, because for the last few years, a lot of people have not been responding to any of the notices. How do I know? People will literally come to our offices here. You can actually come to our office for an appointment, and they'll bring all their unopened envelopes. And then we have to open them with them. So if you're getting any IRS notice, first things first, open the letters. That's the most important thing. Second, if you notice that letter 11 that we just covered is not in there, here's what happens if you don't respond to this letter. The IRS has no other option other than starting bank levies. What does that mean? IRS takes money directly out of your bank accounts. Wage garnishments, IRS can take up to 25%, at minimum up to 25% of your paycheck. That will go straight to the IRS until your balance is due. And what is the potential setback? What's the potential effect, the snowball effect of that happening? If they're taking money from your paychecks, and I know it just happened today with somebody, they take money from your paycheck, you got less money to pay your bills. That's less money to pay your mortgage, your rent, your utilities, food. You guys have no idea how many times people have called me, and the reason they're calling me because they're buying groceries, they swipe their debit card and there's no money in there, only to find out the IRS or the state of California or the state entity took money directly out of their bank account. That is what happens. So I call this, it's literally a financial nightmare if this happens. So that is why you have to respond to this letter. There's no more delaying. There's no more procrastinating to deal with your IRS issues. Common mistakes people need to avoid when dealing with these letters. The most common mistake is literally ignoring the letter. They're going to treat the letter like every other letter they've gotten the last several years, and don't open them or throw it in that round file or throw it in their desk. That is the most common mistake, is ignoring the letter. Do not ignore the letter. In fact, you shouldn't be able to ignore the letter, because typically that CP 504 and letter 11 will come certified mail to you. Okay. The second common mistake is typically trying to negotiate with the IRS alone, or calling them and not knowing what you're going to talk about or what you're going to do. I just had somebody with this letter 11. They said, my tax advisor, again, their tax advisor friend, told them, just send them a minimum payment of $100 and they'll stop the collection. No, that's not how this works. Letter 11, you can't do that. You need to come with them with a plan, how to pay it off in full, get into an installment agreement. Problem is, can you afford the installment agreement? The IRS will stick you in an installment agreement that you can't afford if you call them directly. So we typically recommend contact a professional. That's what we do. That is what we specialize in. We specialize in tax problems only, hence the name Tax Debt Consultants. That is what we do. We're a family-run business, a veteran-owned business, and that is exactly what we do. We actually do this. We're located in Southern California, in the city of Redlands, California, just south of Los Angeles, just north of San Diego. People book appointments to come to our office, or we can do this nationwide. We do it on the phone. I would say 90% of our clients, everything's done via phone and computer, because they're all over the country. In fact, they're all over the world that we actually help. Rely on misinformation or this is the third common mistake, is relying on misinformation or bad advice from an unqualified source. And I just mentioned that. Don't rely on your H&R Block, and I'm not picking on H&R Block, any tax service, it could be any tax service that has no specialization in dealing with tax problems, and specifically dealing with this letter 11. You do not want to, this is too critical at this point to rely on unqualified advice. Not just because they're a tax person doesn't mean they know how to handle this letter. And more importantly, especially if they're not a tax person that specializes in this or have any knowledge of how to deal with IRS collections, whether it be your family, your friend, the local barber, your local, whoever it might be, don't rely on their advice. I've already told you, I've had multiple people call me saying, so-and-so told me if I just did this, made a small little payment towards it, they'll stop all of this. No, this letter is too critical. This letter will ruin you financially if you don't deal with it. How can we help? Again, and I just mentioned it again, that's what we do. I'm the founder of Tax Debt Consultants with my wife, Elizabeth. She's on the screen over to the far right. You can barely see her there. We co-founded this company to help people like you who have tax problems. You'll learn more about my story but literally I went 8 years not filing my own taxes. 8 years, not filing my own taxes, owing between the IRS and state, owing almost $100,000 in taxes. Back in my 20s, good people make bad mistakes. Fortunate for me, I had found a person that can actually help me. My good friend, God rest his soul, Ernie Madison. He recently passed, but he helped me get my life back in order. And he gave me that seed to say, Carlos, if you ever decide to make a career change later in life, I think you'd be a great person to help other people. And that's what we've been doing. I've been doing taxes for almost 20 years, been specifically specializing in dealing with tax problems for close to 10 years. As I mentioned earlier, I've written books about it, best-selling books about it. I've been on ABC, CBS, Fox News, Hollywood Live, radio stations across the country. Come to me asking, hey, what do people need to know what do people need to know on solving their tax problems? So that's what I actually do. And one of the things that we do immediately when you get this letter 11, how do we stop this? Basically, we need to reach out to the IRS immediately. There are certain procedures that we will follow to take care of this, that we can immediately stop everything. We can stop everything to get you more time to come up with a game plan. In fact, I got 3 appointments today. That's exactly what we got to do. We don't have time to put her entire scenario together to be able to come up with a resolution with the IRS and how they're going to solve their taxes. So we are going to follow the procedures that are given to us to be able to get more time to go to the IRS to basically come up with a game plan that will work for them. So that's what we're going to do. So bottom line, this actually went way longer than I expected. I thought I'd be on here for a few minutes to talk about this, but this is so important. If you got an IRS letter 11, here's what I want you to do. If, again, you don't have time, just look at the letter, the date on the letter, look at that deadline on that date. Remember, let's go back again. Look at the date of that letter and look at your deadline. If you were one of the first people that just recently got this letter 11, that means you got less than roughly about 10 days to respond. You got to do something within 10 days. If that is you, here's the phone number. You can call us. Our secretaries answer the phone 24 hours a day. Either myself, Liz, or somebody on our team will call you immediately to follow up with you to find out the details of what's happening. The other option, this is another option. You go directly to Call Tax EA. That is my actual calendar. We can just book that appointment to speak to somebody, to speak to us. Book the appointment. No need to wait, especially if you're up at night and you happen to come up with this. You don't want to call, don't want to wake nobody up in the house. Go to the link, just book an appointment and learn more. And then we will call you back up. Make sure you whether it's on the phone or you're booking an appointment, make sure you're stating it's a letter 11. Because if you put on there letter 11, you go immediately to the top of our callbacks to reach out to you. It's that urgent. And bottom line is just, I want to take the time to say, IRS has given you 30 days from the date that you got this letter, and every single one of those days counts. My fear right now is that so many millions of people are getting this letter that there could be a delay in trying to stop this stuff. We don't want that to happen to you. Don't wait a day or two before that deadline. Call now. And we're looking forward to helping you. Me, Liz, our team is looking forward to helping you. Take care.